everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome one and all to my humble silver pouring bench. Now recently I put out an interview and podcast with Bleyer Bullion, and if you haven't checked that out yet, the link as always is down in the description below. It's well worth a look. It was a really fun day and interview with them. But in that interview we did a grand reveal of some bars which I've been making with Bleyer Bullion these last couple of weeks, these little 2-ounce bars with an owl on them. And in that podcast I mentioned that I'd be sharing a video of the whole making of process of those bars, and this is that. So we're going to pour some silver today. I'm also going to show you how I stamped those bars and also how I antiqued those bars. But first of all, we have to pour some of these bars into this mould here. So this is the little mould I'm using. The aim is to try and get these bars all to a minimum of 2 ounces, which is easier said than done because of the method by which I use to pour my silver. So I'm just going to get this blowtorch on, get the mould nice and warm. And so with graphite crucible pouring, which is what I do here, you get quite a lot of what I call schmutz or dirt or graphite pollution coming out, and this is a prime example. This is a little square that I poured, in fact just at the end of the pouring cycle, and as you can see it's got all of this graphite pollution and discoloration. It's not very pleasant at all. So I use the what I call stop short method, which is I take the casting grain which I use, this is what we use to pour with, put a certain amount in the crucible, and then I pour by hand and sort of a guesstimate to try and make sure that we hit 2 ounces or whatever weight it is that we are trying to achieve. Sometimes it's 100 grams, sometimes it's 1 ounce, whatever it might be. So that's always the goal, to try and get that, and we do that because we end up with a much better looking bar with nicer ripples, which hopefully then makes the products look even better when they're all finished. So the aim of the game today is to try and get at least one, hopefully, so that you guys can see what they look like on camera done. Failing that, we'll just keep on going until we get them, and then we'll head on over to the stamping block. But for the moment we are going to pour some silver, so hang on and wish me luck. So that is the first one. That might be just about right. So what we can actually do is just flip the mould over and out, and then we get another attempt at a bar. That one's probably going to be over, but we shall weigh it nevertheless, and let's see if we can get a Brucey bonus third one. Just about, yes. So well, that's probably going to be overweight as well, but we shall see. There's only one way to find out, and that is to get them out of the mould, get them quenched in some water. Now I quench my silver in water. Yeah, this one's definitely overweight. It's a big chunky monkey. I quench my silver not really because I have to. Silver isn't like steel. It doesn't need to be quenched to be made harder or softer or whatever quenching does. It's just simply to save a bit of time because we want to get them weighed here on camera. So let's find out what weights they are. Let's zoom out a little bit so that we can see the scales. Let's put a cold graphite mold in there so the scales don't melt when I put it on the hot stone. So hopefully these will, some of them maybe will have come out. There's I know 1 or 2 in here which will be a bit chunky, probably too chunky in fact. And we're aiming for 2 ounces. Obviously there's always a certain degree of kind of leeway. That's 2.37, that's a bit too much obviously free silver as well for me to be giving away. 2.39, I think we've got a bit of a pattern here. This one is probably the best bet, but it's probably still over. So 2.25. So you can see how this process sometimes can maybe take a little bit of time. These are very good looking bars, and I've got to get back in my flow. I've not poured these little 2-ounce bars for quite a while, so getting that muscle memory back before we go. But that's the general gist of how we pour these bars and try and get them looking as good as possible. So I will endeavour on, I'm sure, and I will get these 25 made, and then I'll catch you all over on the stamping block where I will hopefully have some 2-ounce bars for us to stamp. Okay, so that first part, which showed the pouring of the bars, is all done now. We finished that actually quite a while ago. So this second part of the video is filmed a long time after I did that first part, because we sent all of these bars up to the Edinburgh Assay Office to get their hallmarks put on them. And they all came back and they looked like this, and you can see the hallmarks down at the bottom of the bars there. That's where we decided that we would place the bars. Now, as you can see, we've got some that are already finished, all of these up here with their nice stamps on, and we've also antiqued them as well. And I'll show you how we go about stamping them and antiquing them here today. So this is the stamp that we're going to be using. It's an owl face stamp with Bleyer on it. Very cool, and made once again by the absolutely high quality stamp makers in Sheffield, M. Shaw Engraving. I'd highly recommend them to any of you out there who are looking to get custom made metal stamps. They are fantastic. Now, these are the finished articles here, so I'm just going to move those to one side because they're probably going to jump up and down as and when I start striking on this little jeweler's block which I've got, and we don't want to damage the ones we've already done. And you'll notice that on these bars here, there are a few little bits of sort of black graphite. You can just see at the top there at 12 o'clock there's a little bit of graphite kind of remnants that are on these bars. And that's caused, as I mentioned earlier in the video, because I stop short rather than pouring an exact weight. I don't put 2 ounces in the crucible and pour it out because we get all of the graphite gump coming out, whereas if I stop short, we get a really great result. And hopefully, as you can see, the ripples on these look pretty cool. And as you saw with the main ones, the finished ones, they will hopefully look pretty cool with the stamps all told. So we need to first clean off all of the graphite gump that's on there. Now what I use is just malt vinegar. So it's just, here you go, some free advertising for Sainsbury's, just some malt vinegar, and we get some of the very, very fine sandpaper. This is P7000 sandpaper, and I just put a little bit of the vinegar onto the sandpaper, and then just a gentle rub within the vinegar on the sandpaper there, and a quick dab on the old shirt. I've got a work shirt on at the moment which is white and covered in black spots because I just constantly clean these bars and wipe it on my shirt. It is a lot easier. And the majority of that has come off now. A little bit more of sort of touch and aftercare will completely get rid of that. There's also a little bit down on the side, and there we go, that one is nice and clean. So that's what we do. A little bit of extra labour to clean the bars when they've come out of the furnace, but you know, it's what I like to do because I think the results are so much better. If we had all of the graphite come out in one go, it would really distort the ripples. It would make them look not very pleasant in my eyes, and I'm a perfectionist. I like to make sure things are as good as they possibly can be when I make them, and that's part of the brand. That's part of what Backyard Bullion's all about. We want to have as high quality bars as possible. So those are all now cleaned and pretty much, so you can see all the kind of graphite comes off quite easily with the vinegar. Actually, it's quite impressive, and it was a bit of a lucky happenstance that I discovered that. I used to leave these bars in basically in the vinegar, in hot vinegar, for hours at a time or even overnight, and then clean them off in the morning, and the graphite would come off. But this is a much more efficient and quicker way to do it. So what we are going to do now is stamp these bars. So I flip my jeweler's block over, and if you are a budding silver pourer and stamper out there, get yourselves one of these. It was like £9.99 or something off eBay. It's a really hard, thick rubber block which you can use to just stamp, you know, the face side down. As it turns out, on these bars we're going to be stamping onto the flat bottoms, so we're not too worried about causing any distortions, but it's got a nice hard steel base here, and the bars will sit nicely on there, and we can just take the stamp and off we go. So we're going to basically be you know, doing it all by hand, doing it all by eye. So the best thing that I can always advise to anybody out there who is looking to stamp their silver is confidence, 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 confidence. I've said it numerous times on all of the stamping videos that I've ever done. Be confident in what you're doing and you'll have a lot more success. Also, when you're looking to stamp your stuff, an eye for detail is so important. Make sure you get it in exactly the right place that you want it to be. So for us, that is you know, pretty much exactly where I want this stamp to be. Now this particular stamp is not a massively difficult stamp to stamp because it's got lots of thin raised areas rather than a big flat surface like the silver foreign bar stamp. So what we're going to do is we're going to stamp it, and what I'm going to probably do is stamp it once just to get the stamp biting into the silver, and then we'll give it some top-up stamps to make sure that it's all taking its bite down on the silver. So there's going to be a loud noise, prepare yourselves, and here we go. So that's the first big stamp. That'll give the nice bite onto the silver, and in fact I could probably just take it off and show you, so you can see that there is kind of the imprint in there, but it hasn't taken the entirety of the bar. So what we do now is we just get it back in, and if you've hit it relatively hard and you've got a bit of bite onto the silver, you'll be able to get the stamp back into it nicely, and you can see there it's nicely fit in because it doesn't slide around. The stamp is nice and secure, and then all we do is we just one big stamp at a time rather than lots of little ones. Lots of little ones maybe make it bounce, so we just do a couple of big stamps. Now we angle the stamp and we can get some of the detail of the owl all around, and there we go. So there, as you can see, is the stamp all nice and in. So that worked very well. The next thing we do is we put the weight on at the top. So I've got 4 individual chops here, and we're just going to go across the top, and we go 2. Now you see there I can hammer lots of little hits rather than one big one, because this is a much smaller chop, a lot less power is needed, it's a lot smaller kind of surface area, so you can just get that in quite easily without risk of it jumping. And just be careful though, like when you're doing these stamps on your own bars, just make sure you've got the letters the right way up. Make sure that you've got a firm grip on them as well, because sometimes if you haven't quite got that firm grip, they might slip out of your hands. That's happened to me a fair few times. And there we go. It's as simple as that. And that is a Bleyer Bullion 2-ounce owl bar made up. Now we just have to do the others, so I'm going to crack on with those. So for those of you who have not already seen the podcast that we released of these, well, the grand reveal of these bars and the interview that I did with Bleyer Bullion, it's well worth a look. The link is down in the description below, and please do go on over and check out all of these bars on the Bleyer Bullion website as well. So there is the second one. That one's good enough. That's nicely in as well. So actually I'm going to crack on with all of these. I'm going to do an efficient method, you see. We'll show you exactly how that works in a moment. So now we have all 4 of these up here and ready to go. We can be a lot more time efficient by taking the one chop at a time that we need and doing all of them at once. Huge time saver if you are looking to do lots of these in one go. Like when I do the 200 1-ounce bars for the Silver Forum, that is the only real way that you can do it, because every time you're chopping and changing, it takes such a long time. It really is a very arduous process, but it's you know, it's a fun process as well. And as I said at the start of this stamping segment, confidence is the key, and practice is really the only way that you're ever going to get the confidence to do this. So if you are a budding silver pourer out there, there's no harm in taking some of your scrap pieces or pieces which haven't come out quite so well, or even just getting a random lump of silver and just basically practicing and just having a go and putting on the different stamps in the different way that you want, and have a look and see how the silver reacts to the hammer blows, see how the silver reacts to the different types of stamps, the different sizes of stamps. The weight of the hammer that you use is also important as well. I started out with a lot lighter hammer than this. I can't remember the exact weight of this hammer now, but it's a fairly fairly weighty one, fairly hefty, and it does perfect jobs on pretty much everything that I need. The only bigger hammer weight that I need is for the Silver Forum flat face stamp, which is a very, very heavy one indeed. So there we go. There are the 5 Bleyer Bullion bars which I left over for us to watch getting stamped live. Now we're going to go and antique them. So hang fire and I'll be back with all of my antiquing equipment. So to antique the silver, it's a very simple process, and one which we use this little chemical here called liver of sulfur. It's also known as patinaing, or giving a patina to the silver. And basically we're going to change the silver from what it looks like right now to this. This is the final result. All of the indented areas, all of the letters, all of the design of the owl and the hallmark will be highlighted essentially with a kind of black patina finish, or an antiqued darkened black finish. And as I said, very simple to do. Now I have shown a few times on my channel the antiquing process, where I will have a big bowl of this solution, liver of sulfur, but that's when you want to antique the entirety of a bar or object. Today we're just going to basically be brushing the top of the bars to make the highlighted areas, the ones which we want to highlight anyway, black. And we have a simple cotton bud here, and what we're going to do is just dip it in and get a little glob of the liver of sulfur. By the way, this smells like eggs, smells like rotting eggs, so always use a nice ventilated area. Then we're going to get some nice hot water, and essentially it is just a brushwork. You just go over the piece that you want, or the areas on the piece that you want highlighted, and you can see almost immediately the hot water and the liver of sulfur take action and they highlight the areas. You'll notice as well that it goes a nice kind of golden yellow, which is of course not the colour we want for silver. Silver is white, not yellow. But this will all brush off and reveal the nice silver content. I'm just going to give that one a bit of a top up. And here we go on all of them. So it's really this simple on here. It just takes a little bit of time. It's a little bit of a laborious process to do, especially the polishing of all the bars afterwards. But again, it's about that quality of the end product. And I think that doing this really helps bring out a lot of the detail on this owl face stamp. I think it's a really good quality looking stamp, and one which really deserves having that kind of detail accentuated. So this is by far and away the best thing to do for these bars. So that is basically all you do. Hot water makes the reaction go faster, so you can see on the first bar that I put the liver of sulfur on, we've already got quite a significant amount of colour change, and that kind of dark colour change. Now the longer you leave a patina on, the darker it will get, and the harder as well it'll also get to basically clean off. So what I kind of do after I've done that is I just run over it with a clean cotton bud to mop up as much of the kind of liquid water and patina fluid that we've still got on there, and then just leave it for a couple of minutes, because we don't really need a very dark patina on this. We just need obviously the particular areas highlighting. So we just want to basically have all of these lines turning black, a nice black rather than a kind of golden orange or yellow. And the only thing that I will do is I'll just put a little bit more colour onto the hallmark areas, because they're bigger, slightly bigger and denser than these lines, so they will require maybe a touch longer. But this first bar here is pretty much done. It's to the point where I would want to take it up and go and give it a clean. So once this is done, we just clean it all, and I'll be back in a moment with them all ready to polish up. So the very last stage then is just to polish them. So here they are all cleaned up. I say cleaned up, I've washed them basically with some soapy water. Make sure all of the liver of sulfur has come off them. Amazing colours, just look at that. I mean, they're beautiful in their own right, but that is not the effect that we're looking for here today. So we are going to polish them up with some silver polish, and this is the silver polish I use. A very good brand indeed. You can buy it on Amazon, and it's the one that I've used this last couple of years. So what I do is I just get a big dollop of it and I smear it on my yellow duster here, and then it is really just as simple as getting all corners of the bar, because you'll probably have a little bit of residue. As you can see, there's a little bit of discoloration on the bottom of the bars there. So just a little bit of silver polish on the cloth here, and a rub on each side will basically just get rid of all of that discoloration. So you can see that's the before, and then we go in for a good old rub on the top, on the face of the bar, and the majority of it has come off, as you can see. So there are a few little bits which are a little bit more coloured and indented, so what we do is we then take a little bit of the silver polish, put it on, got a little foam applicator here, and this will push down into all of those hard to reach areas that you can't get from a flat surface like on the cloth. It'll also really help highlight like the lettering of the hallmark, for example. So if you look on here, if it will focus, you can really see the lettering of that hallmark standing out, which looks really, really good. And that's the whole point of this effect. That's what we want to see. So with all of the front of the bar done, it's just again a case of making sure that all of the discoloration that the liver of sulfur has caused comes off on all of the sides, and then it's done. And that is how you make a 2-ounce Bleyer Bullion bar from start to finish. So all you need to do once that's all done is just give it one last quick rub-a-dub-dub, and it's all finished. There we go. A lovely brand spanking new Bleyer Bullion 2-ounce bar. So I'll just crack on and clean all of the rest of these, and then we'll have a look at all of them together. So here we go. Here are all 25 of the finished 2-ounce Bleyer Bullion owl bars. They are absolutely awesome. I'm really happy with the way they've turned out, and I just want to say a huge and massive thank you to Bleyer Bullion for the opportunity to make these bars for them. They are going to be exclusively available only from Bleyer Bullion, so if you're interested in them and you'd like to support both Bleyer Bullion and myself, then please do head on over to Bleyer Bullion's website. The link is down in the description below. Thank you, one and all, for joining me on this journey of watching the silver being poured, stamped and polished. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, put a thumbs up on it and share it around on your social media. And if you'd like to see videos like this in the future, let me know down in the comment section. And also make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the alarm bell if you'd like to get notifications when future videos go live. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you like, share, comment and subscribe for more.